We're live today here on KHTS FM 98.1 and AM 1220, your hometown station. If you are alive in Santa Clarita today, you know all about the goings on at Saugus High School and the whole blue line flag. And it has come to I would say, a semi-head as of this evening, as the game will be over at COC. And there'll be a lot of folks going, of course, to root the various teams that are playing. And I am sure there'll be a few folks over there that are going to be in support of our law enforcement here in our great community of Santa Clarita. Many of you know, just a couple of years ago, back in 2019, Saugus High School, of course, was the place of a high school shooting where two students were killed. We know that law enforcement selflessly ran onto the campus and did their best to acquiesce the shooter. And we're so thankful for our law enforcement here in the Santa Clarita Valley. It wasn't very long after the Saugus shooting that, in response to some of the anti-law enforcement sentiment of the summer of 2020, that the blue line flag became something of prominence. And that is essentially an American flag that has been kind of colored out, but a very thin blue line is prominent mainly on the flag. And that, of course, is essentially a statement of backing the blue. And that has been kind of the mantra of one side, whereas the mantra of the other side has been, of course, to defund the police and to call doctors and lawyers and Indian chiefs instead of law enforcement to take care of issues. But it has come to a head here recently in our high school, in our local community, because one of the students at Saugus High, at the beginning of the football season, would run onto the field, and one of the things that was on display was the blue line flag. And the only reason why that blue line flag was brought onto the field was simply to show the solidarity of the students with the law enforcement here in our community. And it wasn't very long after that that some Karen and some individuals that have problems with everything seemed to have an issue with the blue line flag and started to take issue with it. I have here in my formerly nicotine-stained fingers an article from one of our prominent newspapers here in the LA area, and it says here, I think that there are thousands of other ways that we can show our support for our heroes, referring to our law enforcement. And this person goes on to say, unfortunately, the flag, referring to the blue line flag, has been co-opted by racist elements in this country, and it has a taint on it now. So basically, the argument is the blue line flag has been co-opted by racist elements. I'm just wondering, have any of you have heard of any racist elements that have co-opted the blue line flag? I'm still trying to figure out which racist elements have done that. And then it goes on to say, as someone of the African American community, this is quoting one of the individuals in this article, there was a spike in the popularity of the Blue Lives Matter flag after the rise in 2020 of the Black Lives Matter protests, said a speaker who identified herself as a student at Golden Valley High School in the neighborhood of Canyon Country. Quote, a lot of people can get that confusion that the popularity of it came in spite of the Black Lives Matter protests. All I can tell you is this. If we continue down this logical progression of saying something has been co-opted by racist elements, then technically no one is going to be able to live. This type of logic is going to implode on itself at some point. It won't be long before somebody is going to say, well, the American flag has been co-opted by racist elements. And if that's the case, I guess we're going to have to now ban the American flag. A few years ago, people were starting to say, maybe we shouldn't sing the national anthem as a way of national pride at any of our ball games and football games and any other sporting events, because there are just a few doting nannies that were always complaining about the national anthem. You'll notice that a lot of this spike has happened in the last 10 years, in specifically the last 5 years. when we've been trying to rewrite our history, and we've also been trying to tell an entire generation of young people that the beginning of our nation did not begin in 1776, but rather in 1619. And so we're seeing a complete revisionism happening before our eyes, and elements within our community, whether we want to say this out loud or not, there are some elements within our community that just do not like American culture or America, and that is unfortunate. But here we are today for this special broadcast here on KHTS, and we have with us today Mom. That's right, Mom of that young man carrying that flag out on the Saugus High School field. Her name is Lexi Hawk. And Lexi, would you say hello to the folks today?
Good afternoon, or I guess it's still morning. Good morning.
It is. Lexi, I understand that you are a nurse.
Yes, I am. I'm in this community.
And do you work at Henry Mayo? Do you work at Holy
I
Cross?
do work at Henry Mayo. I have worked at Henry Mayo for 9 years. I'm a critical care nurse who has worked through COVID as a COVID ICU nurse.
Well, thank you, Lexi, for your service, and thank you for all that you did all through the pandemic of the last couple of years. I want to talk to you about your son and just the reaction of some in the community about the blue line flag. What was your initial reaction when all of this brouhaha began about the flag and your boy running on the field with it?
My initial reaction, I was kind of shocked and surprised, considering Saugus, historically speaking, as a community. I've lived here for 19 years.
Mm-hmm.
My husband's lived here for 22 years in Saugus in the same house. Saugus, historically speaking, has been a very pro law enforcement, pro firefighter, pro nurse, any kind of first responder, EMTs. It's very pro first responder community.
Yeah.
So I was shocked and appalled, actually, to think that somebody would think that my son's honest actions of supporting the law enforcement who protected them,
Mm-hmm.
that somebody would complain about it.
Yeah.
I am also shocked that whoever it was, and I have the Facebook post to state who it was who incited this to begin with, was not a Saugus parent, was not a Saugus resident, but they are a resident of a different community in Santa Clarita. And the fact that they waited 7 games into the season to complain about it was also disheartening. That if it really bothered you, why didn't you say something the first day that the kid ran out with it?
Yeah. So essentially, you're saying that for several game cycles, there was nothing said, and then
Absolutely.
all of a sudden, it became a thing.
And there was nothing said on any other field that we went to. We played at Simi Valley, we played at Camarillo, and that flag was run out. No other parents complained at any other school, any other community.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody said a word, and it was a member of our own Santa Clarita community, but not Saugus community, and it is not a Saugus High School parent that complained.
Well, you mentioned there, by way of a tease there in your statement, you said you have with you the Facebook post of the individual that kind of started this fire.
I do.
And would you mind reading a little bit from that post and just sharing with our folks here exactly what this male Karen said?
I would love to. We typically in our household call that a Chad.
Unless, of course, they've been transgendered.
Yes. So, William S. Hart Union High School District. Take a minute and write to insist that the district immediately stop the use of the Blue Lives flag, which is incorrect because it is not a Blue Lives flag. It is a thin blue line flag, and they mean 2 totally different things. On our school campuses and at any school events, there is absolutely no reason for this image to be carried out onto the field by players or used on cheer blocks. This gentleman also had a problem with a girl having it on her cheer box. She has it on her cheer box, not offending anybody. It's on the side of her cheer box as she is cheering. And this gentleman complained about that also.
Okay.
Get loud. What message are we sending to our own kids if we sit back and allow this divisiveness to continue? Now, keep in mind, nobody was dividing anything. Nobody had said anything.
Mm-hmm.
Do something. This is simply not a First Amendment issue. That flag doesn't mean the same thing to all of us. It doesn't. It has a specific meaning to law enforcement. It's supporting law enforcement. It should mean the same thing to everybody.
Sure.
we have a flag that is for all of us. It looks like this, and the American flag is what this person posted.
Well, I'm glad they at least recognize the American flag.
Right. I'm not sure if they do that either. I think it was more for the post.
I'm pretty sure it was, but of course, we won't impugn their character or even try to slight that, right? But the fact is, so this individual is not a parent of any student at Saugus.
Nope.
Was just either watching the game or came to the game, was an onlooker, and decided to take it upon themselves to go ahead and post this.
Yes, that is correct.
And though we're not going to say where this individual has their intellectual prowess at in terms of the place you mentioned to me before we started the interview today, can we suggest that maybe this person is left of center?
Yes.
Okay.
That would be my understanding from everything. And I have other screenshots that people have sent me on other posts because, of course, I am not allowed in their group. So,
Because it's a private group.
yeah, you have to be allowed in. And I don't associate with their beliefs, so they would not let me in. If I answered honestly to the questions they ask you to get into the group, I would not be allowed in. So
Okay. All right. Well, I understand that. And so, what other things did these folks say, or what other things were they complaining about in order to have Kuhlman and these other guys to take actions on the blue
this
flag?
post is what began the firestorm of other people calling into Saugus, presumably not Saugus parents. Some of them were, but these are Saugus parents who didn't complain for 6 or 7 games of the flag being run out, and they did not say a word until this gentleman posted. So it was like he was almost inciting a political unrest.
Well, so what do we have right there?
This is, I have the meaning of the thin blue line flag from a law enforcement officer who happens to be my son's favorite football coach of all time. He was
Okay.
his youth football coach for a very long time.
Okay.
So I asked him and his opinion of what the blue line flag, and he sent me the meaning.
So this is a law enforcement individual,
Yes.
and he is giving you the definition of what he believes the blue line flag represents.
Yes.
All right, go ahead. Start reading that if you would.
Meaning of the thin blue line flag. The blue represents the officer and the courage they find deep inside when faced with the insurmountable odds. The black background was designed as a constant reminder of our fallen brother and sister officers. The line is what police officers protect, the barrier between anarchy and a civilized society, between order and chaos, between respect for decency and lawlessness. Together they symbolize the camaraderie law enforcement officers all share, a brotherhood like none other.
Sounds pretty patriotic. Sounds like brotherhood. Sounds like everything that would be wholesome and things that our students could probably look up to.
And inclusive, because law enforcement includes all members of society.
Sure.
If you can make it as a law enforcement officer, it doesn't matter whether you're a female or a male.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter your gender, color, religion.
Mm-hmm.
All walks of life are accepted as police officers.
Sure, absolutely.
So,
And have you posted what that gentleman said online, or did you get any responses from that, or is that something that you just didn't want to do?
I did not post anything for fear that there would be retaliation from the other side, and I didn't want to affect the boys' football season.
Yeah.
Because these people have decided to
Inject themselves.
inject themselves into a football season that was just fine without their interjection at all.
Yeah.
And it is their opinion,
Yeah.
and we were going along just fine without it. So because they wanted to incite some disruption at our game, which is what they were planning on doing according to their Facebook posts, because of that, I didn't post anything else.
Yeah.
Because I don't want anything to ruin their game.
Yeah. There is an element within our community, and I say that with somewhat respect, that loathes law enforcement and loathes that blue line flag, and if they were honest, probably loathe our country in a lot of ways and want to see it completely, fundamentally changed, as one of our previous presidents have said. But the fact is that small minority is a very loud minority
Yes.
in our community.
Yes, they are.
And they're getting louder and louder and louder. And of course, we believe in the First Amendment right. We believe they can say what they want. I do find it odd, though, just Lexi, just by way of conversation here, that a lot of these guys on that side of the political fence will say things like, "I don't want your views forced on me," while they graciously force their views your way. And yet the logic doesn't apply. It doesn't, the proverbial light bulb doesn't pop up in their mind like, maybe I'm doing exactly what I'm blaming them for doing.
It's projection.
Exactly. And so the logic doesn't seem to necessarily go there. So let me ask you a question, Lexi. What do you think is going to happen tonight at the COC game? And by the way, who is Saugus going against?
Saugus is going against Hart, which is very near and dear. My son.
This is going to be fun.
It's going to be a great game. My son has played with multiple members for youth football. He played with multiple members on the Hart team as well as the Valencia team. So all the teams here are near and dear to us.
Yeah.
So this issue across the board is near and dear to all of us.
Do you think there's going to be a bit more curiosity at tonight's game?
I think there will be a bit more curiosity as far as I think people are going to want to see if anything happens. I think, at least from my standpoint and the people that I know, we're just going to go to the game and support our children.
Sure.
Because that's what we do every Friday night.
Yeah.
And we will do it proudly with our Saugus apparel. And we will just be, happy to support our kids.
Yeah. How about your boy, Lexi? How does he feel about some of all the press and some of the negative stuff that's been said about the blue line flag? And what is his position on all this? And what have his complaints been about?
He's pretty easygoing. So his biggest issue is that his words, some idiot decided to complain after 7 games. Like, where were you? Like,
Yeah.
if you really had a problem with it, why wouldn't you come and say something the minute that it happened?
Yeah.
Which is I think his biggest issue.
Yeah.
Like, and I think his bigger issue is like, why wouldn't he just, the adult, why wouldn't they just say something to me?
Yeah.
As another adult?
Yeah. Because obviously today we have social justice warriors on Facebook, and we know that Facebook is the place that we can be real men.
Yes.
Because we're keyboard warriors.
Yes. Absolutely. And that's, I think where it all lies. Instead of, and the district too, and as well as Saugus High School. It was never mentioned to me. It was never discussed. Like, do you want to have a roundtable discussion about this? We want to hear your opinion? They never said anything to me, and they didn't reach out to me at all.
Yeah. Well, I think when we get back from our break, Lexi, I want to talk a little bit about Kuhlman and some of the decisions that came down at the school, and maybe get your thoughts as well as some parents' thoughts that you might be inclined to tell us about their thoughts about why Kuhlman did what he did, and maybe even threw the coach under the bus here about some things that I see in an article that's sitting right in front of me. And just want to see what you think should happen concerning this issue instead of just some unilateral decision on somebody in the district. So when we come back from KHTS from the break, we're going to talk to Lexi about that decision. And then we're also going to hear from Council Member Gibbs, who just walked in, and get his take, who, by the way, wrote a great article in the Signal yesterday that I would encourage and recommend you read. And when we come back, we'll talk about that. You're listening to KHTS FM 98.1 and what is the other one? 1220 AM. All right, we're back live here on KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and AM 1220. And we're talking about the blue line, air quotes, controversy over at Saugus High. And, of course, we know that tonight Saugus is playing Hart at a game this evening, and of course it'll be real exciting, and I'm sure there's going to be all kinds of new patriots there that are going to be coming just for the sake of supporting our law enforcement, but at the same time hopefully they'll get a really, really good game. We were talking to Lexi before the break, and I wanted to get Lexi's opinion on the superintendent's decision to just kind of unilaterally make a decision on this blue line flag without any kind of vote or input from the rest of the district. Lexi, what is your thoughts on the superintendent's decision, and do you think it was fair, or do you think there needs to be some other way of rectifying this?
I was under the impression it was supposed to be a board decision as a whole, not just his decision. So he sent out that letter, which apparently he's allowed to do, but you're not supposed to make any decisions under my understanding unless it goes to the board.
Yeah.
I understand a knee-jerk reaction to maybe quell the opinion of the loud people, as we were talking about before. However, not inviting me for the discussion, inviting other parents whose children believe what my child believes and who support the police. There was no invitation for discussion at all. It was this gentleman posted a Facebook post and cited this situation of political unrest that he wanted at the game, basically. And that's where we're at. There was no questions about from me as the mom who had the kid carrying the flag.
Sure.
Or the other kid that was carrying the flag. They didn't contact that family either.
Sure. Well, Coleman goes on to say that he says, please note that this decision does not translate into a change in support for law enforcement. The degree of enthusiasm behind our district's backing of law enforcement doesn't change, but of course the symbol, of course, is what is changing here. And he goes on to say the district is looking for alternative methods to show support for law enforcement. Have they contacted parents, or have they had any kind of meeting to suggest what those alternative methods for showing support for law enforcement would be?
No, and I would assume, based on the reaction that we got from the thin blue line flag, that the reaction of any support of law enforcement, it would be the same. It would be manipulated into some sort of political situation as opposed to true support for our law enforcement.
Yeah. It's kind of sad that we're even having this conversation, that we even have to have this special broadcast, because you would kind of hope that support for our law enforcement would be across the board, and that this would be a nonpartisan issue, as we would hope it would be, but unfortunately it has become partisan, say you?
Yes.
And it's unfortunate, but it is what it is, and I guess that's the times in which we live. We're joined also this afternoon, or this morning still, by Councilmember Jason Gibbs, who just yesterday wrote an article for The Signal, which I read, which was a great article. He did a great job of threading the needle and being able to display both sides and having an understanding heart. Councilmember, would you say hello to the crowd out there?
Hello to the crowd out there.
Oh, man.
How'd I do?
By the way, hopefully, if you're on Facebook Live, I just want you to know that Councilmember Gibbs is wearing a purple shirt.
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
He likes these colored shirts. I don't know what it is. He's comfortable in wearing them. Me, I'm just the white shirt guy. But anyway, Councilmember Gibbs, can you just go through the thought process as you were writing that article? And I'd encourage folks to go to The Signal and check it out online, and I'll be posting it later today as well so people can read it. But just kind of go through the thought process as you were penning that article.
Sure, Pastor, and thank you for recognizing the purple shirt. I'll let everybody know out there that the process is whatever's the next clean shirt on my rack is what gets worn.
Purple people eater.
That's where we are. No, you know, Pastor, this has been a tough one for me. As an elected official who's dealt with truly what the name of my article was the danger of symbology.
Sure.
I've seen firsthand really how it can impact people.
Absolutely.
And this one was tough for me because it felt, just as Lexi had mentioned, that the engagement wasn't there.
Yeah.
And we need to look at what the real intent was. And everything that I've seen and understand, the intent from those kids was to support law enforcement, plain and simple. And I know that there are people who've associated that flag with a history that they thought was a kind of a counter-protest. It's not one that I share. But as I state in my article, it's important that we see it and understand it. But when it all comes back to what the intent of the kids was, there was no malice there.
Yeah.
There was no history of counter-protesting and anti-police or anti-anybody else with regards to the use of that flag, and it had been something that had been done for some time, as I understand. But one person or one small group of people can come forward and cause that to go away without a discussion, without real policy discussion at the board. That's where the biggest problem was for me. When there are issues that turn political, whether they were meant to be or not, it is the role of elected officials to engage in that discussion. and be the decision makers on these, not
Yeah.
the arbiters of morality, but the decision makers of policy. And I didn't feel that happened.
Yeah.
I don't believe the superintendent had any malice in his heart for what he did. The school districts have been put through the ringer over the last 3 years with decisions with COVID, with decisions with opening and closing, with the virtual learning. And you are dealing with the most important things to parents, which is their children every
Yeah.
day. So emotions always run hot. So I feel that in his heart, he was trying to keep those emotions down.
Yeah.
But I just felt that I think the article needed to be written to understand what all the sides were, and that I think we really missed it on this one.
Yeah.
You know, those kids experienced something that we would not wish on anybody.
Yeah.
And they've been displaying their support in a way that I always felt was positive. I didn't think there was any negativity in their hearts or in their actions. And then for this just to come down like that, I feel it wasn't appropriate.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question, council member. Do we have a policy at Saugus or at Hart or where the students could carry any kind of flag onto the field? What is that policy, or is there some sort of a line there?
Well, to be fair, I can't speak to it. You honestly would need to talk to the governing board. You need to talk to the superintendent about policy. I feel that there is, one of the things that came up in the post is you can always find people's perspectives. And one of them was talking about 10 years ago, there was the discussion of a school district that banned the American flag on Cinco de Mayo. And a federal appellate's court actually came back and ruled in favor of the district, saying, yes, they had the right to do that. But the premise behind it is there was a history of gang violence, a history of violence on that day, and that people wearing a Mexican flag and American flag were actually creating situations of violence in the schools, and that the district acted appropriately to ban the symbol that day because of the actions that it came. And I think that was the intent here. It was the idea of, well, if there could be animosity or adversity, it is our role as the district to stop the violence by stopping the symbol. But there was a big difference between that case and what we experienced because there was a history there.
Yeah.
In this case, there was no history of violence. There was no history of malice or using it as a protest piece. It was just a piece to show support for law enforcement.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think anybody, and I think Lexi, you'd probably concur with this, that your boy or anybody else who might have been displaying that flag wasn't doing so as a counter-protest
Absolutely not.
to some other group out there, but just simply a show of solidarity to law enforcement. In particular, the law enforcement that ran in so selfishly a couple of years ago onto the campus of Saugus and did what they did.
And we know personally 3 or 4 officers that ran on to Saugus campus. So it's near and dear to our hearts.
Absolutely. Did you have an opportunity to read the Mayor Pro Tem's article?
I did. It was fabulous.
And
Thank you.
Did you come to the conclusion that I did, that it was just so well written?
It was perfect.
Thank you.
It was
Thank you.
great. And I also believe that Joe Messina, what he said at the board meeting last week, was very well thought. I don't know if you watched. I did.
We wanted to have Joe on today, but he's running for re-election, so it's against our policy. But nevertheless,
Works out best for all of us,
it
Pastor.
totally does. Yeah, and he wouldn't dress up for this austere occasion.
No, he
either.
wouldn't be in purple.
No,
Absolutely
not at all. No, not at all. And he'd have probably some food stain on his shirt. But anyway, but the fact is tonight, we're gonna enjoy a game, Lord willing. And, I'm assuming you probably have a bias and would like to see Saugus winning, Lexi.
Of course. But as I said, Hart is near and dear to us as well. We know several players. My son has played with several of the players, so I wish them the best, too.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Jason Gibbs, do you anticipate that there will be, I'm assuming we all anticipate there'll be more people there tonight, but have you heard any kind of buzz that there might be any kind of protest or any kind of violence that hopefully does not happen?
I mean, there's always rumblings,
Yeah.
right, with social media. I sincerely hope not, and that's why I closed my article the way I did.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're dealing with kids who just want to be under the lights, that want to be playing football, that want
Yeah.
to be enjoying life. I don't think that they asked for this, and it's sad that this is where it's come to, but it's here. So it's now at that precipice where the community, it's wonderful. I mean, I think it'd be great. I mean, there's thousands of people that come and they're there to support these kids. Man, it'd be a huge highlight for them to have so many people in the stands.
Yeah.
But it's incumbent upon all of us to keep it together,
Yeah.
to realize that you can
Absolutely.
have a house that's divided but hearts that are united. We are there for the kids in our own way. So
Did you say hearts that are divided? No, what did you
House
say?
divided, but hearts united.
Man, you're going to run for higher office.
No, I have to credit Nicole Stinson for that one because they did it as a football term between the Buffalo Bills and the Rams. But I absolutely loved the expression.
Yeah, no,
And-
that's good. That's good. Thank you, council member. Now, Lexi, let me ask you another question. What is your boy anticipating tonight as he goes to that game? I know that he knows there's going to be increased scrutiny and there's going to be more people there. Knowing that he can't fly that flag tonight, does he have any kind of animosity in his heart? What's he thinking?
I don't think he has any animosity. I think it makes him play better, though.
Well, sure.
I think
Take out the
there's a
aggression on
little-
heart.
I think there's a little underlying, like, I'm going to show you, but just out on the football field instead. So I think that's a
Exactly.
good thing. He's, like I said, he's a very mellow kid, and he just has the sweetest heart. So for him, this is just way beyond what he ever thought this would turn into for, a situation.
Yeah, exactly. As a 19-year resident, I believe you said,
Yeah.
here of Santa Clarita,
Mhm.
how proud are you of our community, even at times like this?
Oh, I love Saugus. I moved here from Orange County. My husband moved me from the beach to the desert. So,
You came from the OC.
so yeah, I definitely, I've always been super grateful that we live in Saugus. I mean, Santa Clarita as a whole is a wonderful place to live,
Sure.
but Saugus is a very tight community. My husband always jokes that he's the mayor of Saugus because where we live, people drive by. Everybody knows my husband. So by default, everybody knows the family. And it's a great place to live. I work in the community. I've worked as a nurse in this community for 9 years. I love where I work. I love where I live.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be more grateful to say that I live in Saugus.
And not only that, I mean, we have not only a great community to live in, no doubt. We have great representation in Councilmember Gibbs and others, of course, that sit on the council, and great accessibility to these folks, where we have Mayor Pro Tem Gibbs here, sitting, talking about this issue,
Oh, yeah.
being able to eloquently write something about this in our newspaper, and be able to have these kind of discussions right out in the open, unashamedly. And in reality, there are a lot of other communities that are not quite like ours. So in many ways, we can pride ourselves in saying we are proud Santa Claritians.
Oh, absolutely. And before I moved here, I worked at the city manager's office in Irvine, and I can tell you this is definitely a more family-oriented community, and it always has been, as much as it's grown in the last 20 years I've been here. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Councilmember Gibbs, you concur with all that. I mean,
Every bit of it.
number one, you're a fabulous representative.
And I fully agree with her stance on Saugus. I've been in Saugus ever since I've been here. It's a fantastic community. I love it.
Well, unfortunately, I'm the only odd man out here. I live in Acton.
Eh.
But
Acton's not bad.
I know.
You
I
can
know.
visit.
I live in Acton, but I lived in Santa Clarita for a long, long time. But I'm still very proud of this city. This is where, if I might just get a little theological here, this is where the Lord's called me, and this is the community that God wants me to minister to, and I love it here. And I'll do everything I can, to defend the cause of our city. But I really enjoy it. But let me just say, as we kind of close out this segment, thank you, Lexi, for taking a stand.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Thank you for taking some hits on the nose here with some of these Facebook posts that unfortunately said some things that were maybe discrediting about yourself
Well, and
or
they
your
are
boy.
currently commenting.
Oh, they're currently commenting?
Yes, they are currently commenting.
You mean they're listening right now?
Yes, they are.
Maybe I should just preach a sermon right now. But anyway, that's good.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm getting it from my moles.
Oh, really?
My underground moles. Yes, I'm getting all the
Well, I
screenshots.
have a
so.
secular philosophy that I live by, and unfortunately, this is going to be a discredit to my Christian belief here. But there's only one thing worse than being talked about, and that's not being talked about.
Yeah.
And so
I do agree.
There is
with
no
that.
such thing as negative press on this, Lexi. But I appreciate your bravery in this issue, and of course, our best to your boy
Yes.
and the Saugus High School, as well as Hart, going against each other tonight. And I hope and pray that there is a camaraderie, that there is an inclusivity. Did I get that word right? Who knows?
If not, you made a good one.
Exactly. I'm sitting next to a guy with a purple shirt. I can say what I want with the word.
Distracted.
But exactly, I was
get it.
distracting. I was like, I could see it from my left eye. My peripheral vision was distracted by the purple shirt. But I hope, and to be honest with you, I hope Saugus wins.
I can tell you. I can tell you that you will probably see a better cohesiveness even between the two teams, because they will be bonded by this issue, because I know several of the parents at heart also, and I know what their children believe. So you will see across the board, you want to talk about community bonding. The powers that be that have tried to make this a political issue have no idea how much they have bonded the community.
Absolutely.
As instead of dividing it. So if that's what they wanted, was to divide the community, they have done the complete opposite.
So give the shameless plug tonight. What time's the game? Where is it going to be?
JV or frosh off, whatever they do now because of COVID, is at 4. But we will be on at kickoffs at 7, and we will be there. I will be rooting for Saugus, but I also love Hart too. So.
Any last words from you, Councilmember Gibbs?
Pastor, all I'd say is I actually want to say thank you to you.
Really?
I do. One, for always admiring the clothes that I wear. But,
Yes.
But every once in a while, Pastor Cook will send me a text message just out of the blue that says, Mayor Pro Tem, I prayed for you today. And when I see that, two things come to mind. First is, well, you've got a connection with the man, so I wonder what I'm doing wrong. But two, it really means a lot to me.
Well, good.
Amen. That you do that for somebody like me.
Amen.
And I appreciate that.
Well, I want to make sure that our elected officials know that there's a pastor out there praying for you.
Yeah. Well, we need it.
And you'll you
More
also
than
know
anything.
you also know Joe Messina, so you'll definitely need it. But
yes.
But again, here are 3 people that love our community, that love the teams that are playing tonight, and we really hope and pray that tonight will be just a wonderful bonding experience. And so we thank you today for listening into this broadcast, because we're coming to the end of it, aren't we?
15 minutes. Oh, we can stay as long as we want.
But we're going to come to an end of it. But I'm praying and hoping that there is a good camaraderie tonight. I hope that whichever team wins is the best team that wins. And if there's anybody that has any malice in their heart, we pray and hope that that ends and stops at where the grass begins there for the field. And so I want to thank you, Councilmember Gibbs, for your representation here today, and again, your fine article that you wrote in the Signal. And thank you, Lexi, and to your husband, and to your boy, and to the rest of the team out there. And we pray and hope that these trolls that are kind of messing with you, all I can tell you is this: they've messed with me, they've messed with the council member, they've messed with a lot of people. These guys have no jobs.
I have broad shoulders. I can handle
They're
it.
in their underwears,
Yep.
sitting in their basements. Keyboard warriors.
Do we have basements in Santa Clarita?
I don't think
only,
so.
only the progressives do.
Maybe
Only
an
the,
accident.
only
the
the progressives do. But thank you for tuning in today to the special broadcast here on KHTS FM, your hometown station, AM 1220. We'll catch you later. Bye-bye.